Welcome to the news on Zodiac. You're with me, Robert Karua. Let's have a look at the headlines. The Parliamentary Committee have recommended the introduction of tax stamps on imported goods to curb smuggling, which is reportedly impacting on revenue collection by Malawi Revenue Authority. Chairperson of Industry, Trade and Tourism, Budget and Finance and Health Committees of Parliament said this yesterday after touring Salati Police Border Unit on the boundaries of Malawi and Mozambique in Dedza to appreciate how the porous border is contributing to the challenges. Meanwhile, Malawi Revenue Authority Commissioner Gerard John Biswick says discussions are at an advanced stage with the Mozambican counterparts to develop ways of addressing the challenge. Government has formally launched the 1 billion kwacha NGO fund with a call to local NGOs to strengthen partnerships with international organizations for effective responses to community needs. Gender Minister Jane Sandeza told journalists in Blantyre yesterday the time is now for NGOs to work in the best interest of the majority vulnerable rural communities. Chief Executive Officer for NGO Regulatory Authority, Edward Chileka Banda, hopes the fund will improve transparency and accountability concerns.
For the first time, local and government organizations will have an opportunity to get financial resources for their operations as government has established a 1 billion kwacha NGO fund. Gender Minister Jean Sandeza has since asked all NGOs to enhance partnerships.
We want to appeal to all those that will be benefiting from this fund is to make good use of these funds. The funds should be made use to the programs that are for the communities. And what we want also to make mention here is to thank the President, Dr. Lazarus Makabe Chakwera, for providing these monies.
Chief Executive Officer for Non-Government Organizations Regulatory Authority Angola, Edward Chileka Banda, hopes the fund will improve issues of transparency and accountability among NGOs, warning that any NGO that will be found mismanaging resources will be punished.
We take this fund as a catalyst to improve accountability and transparency because most of the NGOs that have been struggling, the biggest problem has been mismanagement of funds. They have weaker internal systems to account for resources, and indeed we have seen some NGOs being closing down because they mismanage funds.
A representative of Blantyre Urban Civil Society Network, Menard Nyerenda, is optimistic that the NGO fund will help to enhance capacity, coordination and partnerships among local NGOs in the country. For Zodiac, this is Christopher Sunday.
Malawi and Ukraine have signed a memorandum of understanding to foster bilateral cooperation on various sectors, including politics. Foreign Affairs Minister Nancy Tembo and her Ukrainian counterpart Dmytro Kuleba signed the agreement on yesterday in Lilongwe. It will ensure regular consultations between government officials in politics, trade and economy, technology, tourism, culture and education, among others. The two sides will also discuss and explore possibilities for cooperation on international and foreign issues of mutual concern within the framework of the United Nations and other international forums. Health authorities have admitted that Malawi is still underperforming in the fight against malaria, a disease that affected 6 million people and claimed over 1,600 lives in 2023 alone. Line Minister Kumbidze Kandodo Chiponda said in Lilongwe during an African malaria vaccines peer learning workshop that Malawi is definitely not making strides, hence a need to retrace and interventions. In WHO country representative Dr. Nima Kimambo says although Malawi is on the right track, it is imperative that people also use traditional methods of preventing diseases to achieve zero cases. We have a report filed by Western Good.
Speaking at the event, which has attracted delegates from 8 African countries, Minister of Health Kumbidze Kandodo Chiponda says the number one children killer disease should be dealt with at all costs, especially after all the efforts put in to eliminate it. Chiponda says that 2063 is 40 years away, but fears that there might not be anyone to fulfill the dream and lead the country and also implement programs if children continue to die like this. She adds that it must be everyone's responsibility to protect women and children, while not only looking at malaria as a disease, but also at its impact on livelihoods.
In terms of availability of vaccines, we are doing pretty well in terms of all the routine vaccines which we give to our children. The most important thing you have to understand is that when we give a vaccine, it means most of the conditions which one can get sick, or if our children can get sick, might not have an actual treatment. So the only way to prevent our children from dying is giving the vaccine. So we have readily available all the vaccines, and this one, malaria, we have added it as one of the routine vaccines, so it should be available to our children.
Resident Representative Dr. Neema Kimambo agrees that the vaccine should be an additional intervention, but communities need to be engaged in behavioral change on best practices to eliminate the disease.
Globally, we have around 290 million cases of malaria, and of those around 608,000 deaths were recorded. This is from the last global malaria report. And the African region, particularly sub-Saharan Africa, carries the highest burden of malaria. About 95% of the global malaria burden is in sub-Saharan Africa. Therefore, it's very important for Africa to make strides, for the globe to make strides in malaria control.
2019, Malawi piloted malaria vaccine in 11 districts in children aged between 17 months and 5 years, alongside other interventions like spraying of and usage of insecticide-treated nets. I'm Western Guta in Lero.
The country's agricultural research think tank Mwapata Institute says youth participation in agriculture has declined by at least 7% in the country over the past 2 decades. A report titled Prospects and Barriers to Youth Engagement in Agriculture and Food Systems in Malawi indicates that in 2010, youth participation in agriculture was at 83%, but now the numbers have gone down to 76% by 2024. Even with that, the report further reveals that majority of young people participating in agriculture are involved in subsistence farming, which does not profit them. John Pokayuri has more.
The report issued today by Mwapata Institute has revealed dwindling numbers of youth participation in agriculture. In 2010, the report says 83% of youths were participating in agriculture, but the number has gone down by 7 points to 76%. William Jadza is Mwapata Institute Executive Director. He says there is need to make agricultural activities attractive to young people.
And also we noted that although we have a relatively conducive policy environment, but I think there are challenges when it comes to implementation, especially specific strategies which would guide what ought to be done in order to support the youth engagement in agriculture.
Mwapata Institute conducted the research on request from National Youth Council of Malawi, NICOM. NICOM Executive Director Rex Chapota told us they will implement the recommendations to increase the number of youth participation in agriculture.
Indeed, the research has shown that there is a decline in terms of young people involved in agriculture over the years. And one thing that we can decipher from this study is that indeed young people are not being attracted to agriculture because they feel it's not as profitable as they would want it to be. Therefore, the results in this case is giving us an impetus to start engaging in a very rigorous manner to all stakeholders that are involved in ensuring that young people can be involved in agriculture.
Agriculture remains Malawi's mainstay, but the majority of youth participating in agriculture are in subsistence farming, according to the report. This is John Paul Kayuni for Zodiac.
Let's now look at how Malawi is faring against the major currencies in the world, according to the Reserve Bank of Malawi. That's how the Malawi kwacha is faring against major currencies of the world, according to the Reserve Bank of Malawi. Well, you're watching the news on Zodiac, and this afternoon you're with me, Robert Karua. We'll be back with more soon after this. Welcome back. Let's have a look at a memorandum of understanding with Center for Agriculture Transformation, CAT, aimed at transforming the agriculture sector for the country to achieve Malawi 2063 development blueprint. NBS Head of Food and Agribusiness James Chiumia believes that the MOU will also help farmers easily access technology needed to bring new innovations in an industry which is fast going digital. He explains.
We believe in CAT's vision, which is to transform the agriculture sector in Malawi, and it speaks very well to the 2063 agenda on agriculture commercialization, which is Pillar 1, and productivity. And we as NBS also have a vision to actually transform agriculture in Malawi. That's why we actually have a whole unit, food and agribusiness, to help our farmers to increase productivity, to help our farmers to become more efficient, and also to help our farmers to access technology and innovation that will help them to improve the productivity and efficiency. So that's why we have partnered with CAT, who are the technical partners, and already have smart farms at Rwanda, which are actually are used for research, and they are coming up with very, very helpful and improved technologies that will actually help our farmers to improve.
Meanwhile, CAT Executive Director Macleo Nkoma is upbeat that MOU will enhance productivity of farmers in the country.
Malawi 2063 talks about agricultural productivity, commercialization and diversification. And so when you look at agricultural productivity, we need our farmers to actually have access to information that will lead to them enhancing their productivity, but also to diversify other than just rely on one crop, and also to commercialize as it were. To do this thing, not one institution can actually manage to help these farmers to achieve that. That is why for us, from the Center for Agricultural Transformation, today we said no, we need to partner with both public as well as the private sector, but including some NGOs. So for our MOU with NBS Bank is that it's a partnership that if we work together, we can actually achieve, our objective is to ensure that our Malawian farmers are increasing their productivity. They are also increasing, or rather they are, diversifying into other value chains. And to do that, farmers will always require, financial access. So access to finance will be very crucial. And we think that our colleagues, NBS Bank, can fill that space and provide tailor-made products to our farmers to actually have access to, finance for them to be able to invest in agriculture, for them to achieve the productivity.
Youth Watch Society has engaged lawyers to help 18 families displaced to pave way for construction of Mbelwa University in Mzimba seek justice, as they claim their compensation did not follow proper procedures in the Land Acquisition Act. One of the lawyers, Victor Gondwe, told Zodiac that they already wrote the Attorney General on their intention to sue government if it does not pay the families compensation as required by law. Vanan Nyirenda has more.
According to one of the lawyers engaged by Youth Watch Society on the matter, Victor Gondwe of John Tennyson Law Firm, there are complaints that the Land Acquisition Act was not adhered to during the payment of compensation to 18 families evicted to pave way for the construction of Mbelwa University in Mzimba. Gondwe said they have sought financial support from Southern Africa Litigation Center to commence legal proceedings against the government, though in the interim they will be offering their services pro bono so that the families are properly compensated. He said they already sent a notice to the Attorney General on their intentions to sue government on the matter, where the families claim proper procedures were not followed when compensating them.
We wrote the Office of the Attorney General, giving them 3 months' notice of our intention to sue government. That was in January. We should have had a response by end of April. As we speak now, we don't have a formal response from the Office of the Attorney General. I will still follow up with the Office of the Attorney General within the week, if at all there's any response. But even if they don't respond, that does not mean the matter ends there. We'll still proceed with the process, because the notice that was given after the expiry of which was supposed to commence court action has now lapsed.
Mese Mhoni of Chisusu Nyelenda village, one of those evicted from her land, says the 250,000 kwacha she received as compensation does not tally with the large piece of land and some fruit trees that were taken from her.
Tikufuna kuti boma litipase malo olima, komanso litipase mazi. Nanga tikuvutika pano pati matunga kwa tali kwambiri. Timavutika kwambiri ndi mazi, koma si mazi otetezeka, amakhala ndi zinyalala. So ineyo ndaoneka kuti ndapereka malo awiri, ena amanga university, ena ndatenga anthu aja kuwapasa malo anga. Ndikuvutika poti pano pandilibe munda olima ndimalimabe kuja kumu.
Meanwhile, Attorney General Thabo Chakaka Nyelenda says his office is yet to receive the notice from the lawyers. Youth Watch Society, in partnership with Southern Africa Litigation Center, is implementing a project aimed at the empowering of rural women in Southern Africa. For Zodiac, I am Vanani Nyirenda.
Chief Justice Rezin Mzigamanda has warned people that vandalize electricity infrastructure that courts will show no leniency to them once found guilty. Speaking during a sensitization workshop in Blantyre on the new Electricity Act, the Chief Justice said, unlike the old Act, which had limitations, the new Act has provided for both huge fines and harsh custodial sentences to convicts.
Chief Justice Rezin Nzikamanda says the Electricity Amendment Act of 2024, which President Dr. Lazarus Chakwera assented in June this year, has empowered the judiciary to hand tough punishments to those that will be found guilty of vandalizing the electricity equipment.
This is an important development in our laws, that we now have a new law which talks about enhanced sentences in trying to curb vandalism and theft of electricity in the country. As you know, that this has been a major problem for some time now.
On his part, Chief Executive Officer for ESCOM Kankwamba Kumwenda has bemoaned that the vandalism of electricity equipment is costing the power utility body billions.
Vandalism is one of the vices that is setting us back, especially on transformers and the conductors. So when our infrastructure is vandalized, it's not only the cost of the replacement, but the lost revenue for ESCOM and also lost revenue in terms of business communities.
Commissioner of Police for the Southwest Region, Noah Kaira, says the enhanced fines and penalties for those found guilty of vandalizing electricity equipment have empowered the law enforcers in the country to prosecute more of such cases. Among others, the new Electricity Amendment Act of 2024 has imposed a 30 years custodial sentence with no option for a fine to those found guilty of vandalizing ESCOM equipment, unlike in the old Act, whereby offenders were being sentenced a maximum of 10 years imprisonment with an option of a fine of 5 million kwacha.
We now turn to sports. Chitipa United entered into a kit sponsorship deal with Vitalite Malawi, a company that sells assorted solar-powered products. The kit sponsorship deal worth 9 million kwacha will see Vitalite Malawi providing home and away kits to Chitipa United, tracksuits to players and members of the technical panel, among others. Chitipa United Vice Chairperson Teka Sichela said the deal has come at the right time as it is a morale booster to the team, which is currently struggling in the TNM Super League. Vitalite Malawi Business Development and Risk Management Officer Samson Makutu said Among others, the deal will help the company reach out to many people in the district with solar products.
As we have heard, as we know, that Chitipa United is a team that engages with a lot of people in the community. So we knew that selling our brand to the people of Chitipa through Chitipa United would be very crucial for our company as well as its development. Our expectation from this deal is actually to gain brand visibility in Chitipa as well as the surrounding areas. We also expect that through this brand visibility, it will boost our sales in these areas because as a company we are trying to expand mainly in the northern region. So this partnership, we aim to be well known into the many communities through Chitipa United, as well as that the company gets boost of its market as well as the sales that it's already currently making.
And that's about what we had time for.